San Francisco, 1974. The city was alive with glitter, jazz, and late-night whispers. The Castro district, still underground in many ways, was a sanctuary for men who couldn't be themselves anywhere else. And in that sanctuary walked a quiet shadow, a man who carried a sketchpad instead of a gun, a pencil instead of a drink. He was handsome in a clean, forgettable way, the kind of man you wouldn't remember if he passed you on the street. But when he sat across from you in a diner or leaned against the bar at the midnight sun, he became magnetic because in seconds, he'd be sketching you. His hands moved like a machine, his eyes sharp and unblinking, studying you as if he knew every detail of your face before the drawing even began. "Do you like it?" he'd ask in a flat, almost monotone voice, sliding the portrait across the table. Most men laughed, flattered, charmed, or just intrigued enough to follow him. A sketch seemed harmless, but for some, that little portrait was the last thing they ever saw. Police would later learn his pattern. He drew them in, made them feel special, then lured them outside, away from the music and lights, into the fog. There he turned from artist to butcher. Victims were found stabbed, some left near Golden Gate Park, others discarded on beaches, blood soaking into the sand. At least 6 were killed, though detectives believed the true number was far higher. One man, let's call him Dean, survived. He met the doodler at a diner. The artist sketched him on a napkin, asked the same haunting question, "Do you like it?" Hours later, Dean woke up bleeding on his apartment floor, saved only because the killer's blade jammed on his belt buckle when he went for the fatal stab. Dean crawled into the hall, screaming for help. Here's the most chilling part. 3 survivors actually knew who he was. They saw his face, gave detectives descriptions, and even picked him out of a lineup. The police had a suspect. They had enough to arrest him. But the survivors refused to testify, and the reason? It was the 1970s. To come forward meant outing yourself in front of the entire country, in a time when being gay could cost you your job, your family, or even your safety. None of the survivors dared step into that spotlight. Their silence was the doodler's freedom. The prime suspect was interrogated, a man in his early 20s, soft-spoken, an art student. He fit the profile perfectly. But without witness testimony, the case collapsed. No charges. He walked free. Then the killings stopped just as suddenly as they had begun. The trail went cold, but the legend didn't die. In 2018, San Francisco police reopened the case. DNA had improved, and detectives were certain the doodler had left traces behind. They even put up a $100,000 reward for new information. The suspect they'd once had. He might still be alive, living quietly in California, maybe sketching faces in coffee shops. Maybe just another old man no one notices. And that's the craziest part. 40 years later, the doodler could still be out there, hidden in plain sight.